niwebo balefwaya kafa babalanda mweumfokulira kw'abantu sikazama yuthi bose batindame abakulu n'abaana bose bashikata n'abaana mayo banelirawe mwamba sikazama ilefwaya iwe wilewebo weshi mwamba leader experience olankale wabomba mwamba Emmanuel bose bakasama balefwaya mwamba Emmanuel Bakasama balefwaya mwamba Emmanuel bakasama bakulira tulefwaya mwamba wesu Emmanuel chipande ni PF tulefwaya mwamba wesu Emmanuel wakuita obwele Emmanuel mwamba mbasata Emmanuel balefwaya Emmanuel mwamba mbasata Emmanuel bakasama bakulira
Ladies and gentlemen, and happy holiday to our workers. Happy Labor Day, happy Workers International Day. We recognize our workers are going through one of the most difficult periods of this country. Highest cost of living, the wages that are not living wages. You barely can survive on the wages that are being paid. The rise of casualization, especially in the mining sector. The lack of jobs, the lack of job security. There are so many people that don't know if tomorrow will come, even if they have a job. Then the quality of jobs available, the lack of decency in the kind of jobs that are available. Then for the public sector, they are suffering multiplicity of unions that have rendered literally the labor force ineffective and the labor unions ineffective. There is a whole lot of challenge. But to you, the worker, we celebrate you today. We recognize the work you are doing for this country, the immense sacrifice that you take, just that work moves, that there is delivery to that work. What are we discussing today? I thought first we should discuss the decision by the president to sell the Toyota Land Cruisers VX or whatever luxury 4x4s that have recently been bought when President Hakainde Hichilema assumed office. He made these remarks when he was presenting the presidential delivery unit to ministers, permanent secretaries, and others, and he was coordinating that meeting. And there are many, many remarks that the president made on that. So we will discuss the sale of the motor vehicles that the president has said, and we will discuss what constitutes the disposal of state assets. How do you sell state assets? What constitutes the sale of state assets? And then we'll discuss the presidential delivery unit, compare it to other countries, and find out why there is skepticism around presidential delivery units. There are very, very recent policy initiatives for implementation brought in by Tony Blair. So we'll discuss that in depth. But there's a matter I want us to start with. The president has been on the Copper Belt, and he recently made remarks against his predecessor. I think this is getting out of hand. Takwa balionse iwe nga waikala kulalanda pamunove. Let's listen to, I'll play 3 videos that the president has recently been talking about his predecessor. Number 1, when he convened a meeting of council secretaries, town clerks, council chairpersons, and mayors. He wanted to understand why CDF is not being delivered, why there was poor results, and he wanted to unlock the rigidities around the delivery of CDF. But he veered off. President Lungu was not part of the subject matter, was not part of the agenda. As usual, the president veered off. There's another one when he was in Chingola, the famous Ukutumpa remarks by the president. And now he's currently on the Copper Belt. He was holding a rally, from Kenneth Kaunda Day. He left Lusaka, went to Lupososhi, where, the UPND won a by-elections, and he's been on the Copper Belt from Lupososhi since then. And again, he made his remarks against his predecessor. Let's watch the 3 videos.
Want to keep you, would have removed you. Simple. Would have removed you. Because some of you are saying, no, me, I was appointed by the PF. Balia, Akale, Balia. Takulifya kueva ati alewele po. Ake kala pesa. Na tuikala kale. Ake kala pesa. Just do your work.
And start killing more young people. I am protecting young people. Someone wants to come back and start killing the people. He didn't kill that time. Kwanga loko. Utumpa uko. We promised the people of Zambia peace and stability. We promised them freedoms. We promised them opportunity. We didn't say we will allow guns and pangas and killing to come back. Wakan. Any message, any language, any action that is talking about taking the country where we came from before the election to Accra. I'm not supposed to say a lot, but I want to send a message to people of Zambia that never mislead colleagues.
A tidbit of what this Copper Belt was. The journey we walked, the tear gas, so many things. One time after Nakabiri ale tupuma. 22-year-old girl Mapens Chibulo. We had a police permit and a bullet was put at the back of her head. That bullet was meant for me. So when Muntualel and that Ndebwe, what does he think I am? What does he think you are? What does he think the children of Joseph Kaunda, Lawrence Banda, Mapens Chibulo, Grezia Matapa, what does he think about those women who were thrown in a cell together with me? Nishi ale tuntun kanya or nishi? Must not misunderstand each other in this country. We must not misunderstand each other in this country. We must not abuse each other in this country. Ndekutika. All the time I'm listening, I said, these people. We say, bale tonton kanya tatwa kwa tamano. Zambia. Ndeipusha. Nomba kuipusha mulandu. Ndeipusha. How can one aspire to come back and start killing more young people? I am protecting young people. someone wants to come back and start killing the people. He didn't kill that time. Kwanga loko, kutumpa huko.
So, as you can see, clearly, the president is offside. You cannot keep on attacking your friend again and again. He has not incited you to speak that way. He has not caused you to speak that way. But you use every public forum to attack your colleague. President Edgar Lungu is our former president. He's the only surviving president we have. He's the only one after the late, President Rupia Banda and Dr. Kenneth Kaunda went to glory. So these attacks against President Edgar Lungu are totally unwarranted. President Edgar Lungu should be treated as a statesman. And President Lungu has repeated again and again that he's not coming back. We are aware that he's got a mandate. We are aware that he has an eligible mandate. If President Lungu wants to stand in 2026, he can stand. I think that's where the fear comes from. So it doesn't matter what President Lungu says. These unnecessary attacks led by the president, so you can see what happens to his juniors, the UPND and others. These remarks are highly inflammatory. They are inciting Zambians against President Edgar Lungu. They are abusing the former president. I think that these remarks are uncalled for, and President Hichilema must restrain himself. And I think he should lead in helping President Edgar Lungu assume the position of a statesman that he is. He has repeatedly said he's not standing. So I don't understand these attacks. I brought this matter up because Chilufya Tayali today received attacks. He had unknown people that came and attacked his house. They drove in with a vehicle, and you must have followed up what has happened to Tayali. We joined our colleagues from the opposition that went to offer solidarity to Chilufya Tayali. These attacks, it's because of careless remarks from the top. So even lower organs of the state who think they are doing the president a favor. That's why when they brutalize the Socialist Party in Serenje, when they brutalize the PF in Chilabombo, people think it is okay. Because the remarks are being led by the president. And institutions like ECZ and the police and others will lead in attacking and assaulting the opposition. These were our remarks at Chilufya Tayali's press conference. And then I'll be able to allow you to make phone calls when we go back to the subjects why we are gathered today. Our numbers are 0973 045292 and 0974 808 115. Here are my remarks. After these remarks, we go to the topic of the day. Honorable Sean Tembo, colleagues, thanks for coordinating this Solidarity joint press conference. For us, we've been crying to the Zambians. We've been under attack from day one. You must have seen the lawlessness that characterized the so-called corruption investigations. The law enforcement agencies, without warrants, stormed the homes of most leaders of the Patriotic Front, even when the law prescribes how they can do an investigation. They traumatized children. They burgled into homes, broke doors, broke gates. And I think there was euphoria. It was after elections, and the PF had just lost elections. And no matter how much we raise this issue, I think people didn't pay attention because they didn't think that President Hakainde Hichilema's government would descend into lawlessness that early. Now it has become apparent. There is a key matter which is now being discussed everywhere. The case of Kwacha and Kabushi by-elections, where with the coordination of State House, ECZ, and the courts of law, including then the police, stole the 2 seats without shame. You have seen the judgment from the Constitutional Court that has ruled that the 2 candidates were eligible. I'm bothering to go back to the background to understand. You have to understand why purported officers of the law were here. You have to lay the background to demonstrate that the lawlessness has been from day one. Ignore the rhetoric. The president was on hand when he swore in Kajoba, and he said he didn't want lawlessness in bus stops, markets, and in by-elections. But you know that the violence has even been escalated. Look at the last by-elections. Our dear brother, Comrade Dr. Fred Membe, was forced to draw a weapon in Serenge because the hordes of cadres were attacking in the presence of the police. And who did they arrest? They didn't arrest the cadres that perpetrated the violence. They instead arrested Comrade Fred Membe. You saw how the UPND cadres attacked our camps in Chililabombwe and even injured our people, including the former Minister of National Planning, Honorable Alexander Chiteme. Then there is these attacks that are led by the president, who attacks His Excellency the President himself, attacks citizens. He will hold a press conference, attack Nakachinda. What are you saying to law enforcement agencies? Of late, it is even bad. The attacks are now directed at the former president, President Edgar Lungu. When the president was opening a meeting at Mulungushi to resolve the issues around CDF, he went for President Lungu, who was not the agenda or part of the meeting. He said, what does it mean? I will not allow him to. And when the president says, I will not allow you to, what does that mean? He has since repeated these threats against the former president. If you see any attack on former President Lungu, what will you conclude? Because the president has vowed that he will never allow President Lungu anywhere near politics, as if that he is the constitution himself. President Lungu has put it very clear he's in retirement. He's waiting to hand over power to whoever the party will elect. But that still doesn't settle President Hakainde Hichilema. So the unwarranted attacks against the former president are totally unjustified. So when you see the narration that has been done, thank you very much. Those were our remarks at the joint press conference with other opposition leaders to offer solidarity to Mr. Chilufya over the attack that he received. For me, I just bothered to demonstrate that the rule of law has been threatened. Let's go back to our main subject. When the president was launching the Presidential Delivery Units, you know, he's appointed the permanent secretary from MDD and the young lady from State House, Chipokota Mwanawasa, as the people that will lead this delivery unit. He made some pronouncement. He expressed frustration that the bureaucracy is standing in the way, that is failing to deliver. And he bemoaned the wasteful expenditure, and he touched on the issue of the sale of motor vehicles. He said all the luxury vehicles that have been bought since he assumed office must be sold. What does that mean? First of all, the disposal of state assets are regulated by the law. They are regulated by the Public Asset Management Policy. They are regulated by the Valuation Surveyors Act. They are regulated by the Appropriation Act. I counted over 13 laws that regulate the disposal of state assets. And for those big assets, it's actually now in the 2016 Constitution, which forbids the state to dispose of major state assets, shares, or companies without going through Parliament and obtaining a 2/3 majority. The president said people should know him. He campaigned that ministers should not use. We have some calls. Thank you very much. Good evening. Tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
I'm calling from Livingston.
From Livingston. What's your name, please? Tell us your name and where you are calling us. Your name, sir. From Livingston. Your name?
You are speaking to Stumbeko Jordan on the line.
Jordan Stumbeko.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Please make your contribution.
Okay, I'm not against with your discussion, and as a citizen of this country, each and everyone has a right. What I'm against is the issue of Tayari dragging the head of state into. They have sent some soldiers to go and attack his residence. I don't think so. That is a true matter of I don't think so. It's true.
Thank you, Jordan. For me, we have called for formal investigation. The allegation is very serious. It needs to be attended to. You can't just brush it aside. It has to be formally investigated.
Which is true, Honorable.
Thank you, Wostumbeko. Do you have any other contribution?
No, that's all, sir. Just wanted to contribute on that's my opinion for tonight.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and continue to watch.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So in the matter of Honorable Chief Tayari, we've proposed that government, the police must investigate this matter very seriously and thoroughly. So coming back to the sale of GRZ assets, there's a president from Mexico who has, okay, good, the phones are buzzing. Good evening, and tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
This is Maseka Peter calling from Solwezi.
Mr. Maseka Peter, yes, please,
yes.
From Solwezi. Make your contributions.
Yes, my contribution is that we know Mr. Tayari very well. We are not sure if that strategy which they are saying that the army came to attack. I don't know, because if it was really the army which came to his house, I don't think if they were able to identify themselves to say that we are army, so tell your boss to stop talking about the army. So that strategy, as for me, I can identify to say that Mr. Tayari has to organize some guys who can behave in that way so that to decampaign the president. Otherwise, the army must not behave like the way or like what we have seen on the CCTV or everything, which was, because if it was army who were coming to attack him, they would not have come during the daytime. Because they know that where we are going, the CCTV cameras, they are there. So they cannot temper themselves to say, let us go and attack him this time around. No.
Okay.
As for me, I have refused that.
Thank you, Mr. Masela Peter from Solwezi. Thank you very much for your contribution.
You are welcome.
Yeah. On Mr. Tayari, we've called for formal investigations. The allegations are quite serious. They require a formal investigation to establish who did this. Our army is a professional army. It's expected to be professional. If there are some rogue people, like remember when they beat the young people from Chiengi, I came to the media and demanded that those soldiers be disciplined. And I'm glad that other people joined us in the debate, and the Minister of Defense had to issue a statement. And I hope that the soldiers were disciplined and dealt with. Our army is a professional unit, and if there's anyone behaving in a rogue manner, they need to be dealt with. Good evening.
Good evening, Honorable.
Good evening.
How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Yes, this is Mr. Hamusonde calling you from Chongwe.
Mr. Hamusonde from Chongwe.
Yes.
Please make your contributions.
Yes, thank you for your presentation. Apart just from saying that issues to do with Chirufia Tayari, they are very, very difficult to believe. Not only with Chirufia Tayari, but with your organization as well as the PF. Why am I saying so? It is because to start with Chirufya. Chirufya is an alarmist to start with. You remember the issue of Nsamansamas' death and the Kaunda? It was brought up by the same man. Chirufya Tayari has brought up a lot of misery in the Zambian public because of his being an alarmist. So for me, there's nothing I'm going to believe that is going to come from Chirufya Tayari, because he's a person who can cause panic. He's a person who can actually tell lies every now and then. And for you, Honorable, if really you are serious about your party PF, may I suggest that you move away from that friendship of Chirufya and the other politicians who are not contributing positively to the development of our politics in this country. Even you there where you are, Honorable, I'm sure you are agreeing with me right there where you are, that Chirufya Tayari is a political nuisance. But you cling to him. Of what value is he? Looking at his past, even now to believe that the army could go and attack Chirufya Tayari. Why is sending the army? Who is really Chirufya Tayari? What weapon does he have for the government to send the whole lot of army just to go and do whatever, whether it's capturing him or whatever? What weaponry does he have to an extent whereby the government can send a battalion to go and capture, whether it's to capture or whatever?
Thank you, Mr. Samson. Let me take this call. This gentleman has been calling. Oh, we missed him. Can you wind up quickly?
Yes. So please, Honorable, if you want PF to become a viable opposition political party, be serious, because to me, this is nothing but just lies. There's nothing like soldiers going to attack Chirufya Tayari. We know the tricks of you, PF, the way you try to attract attention. There's nothing here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm Sonde from Chongwe. There's a matter that Chirufya Tayari has been dealing with, the issue of recruitment. You are aware that the Defense Forces made public adverts, and young people went to participate in this recruitment. This was in October. Zambia Wildlife Services issued their own, Zambia Army, ZNS, Zambia Prisons, the police. Chirufya Tayari has been calling for the publication of those names. So let's put it into context. Good evening, my brother. I'm so sorry we keep on missing your call. Tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening. I'm calling you. I'm calling you within Lusaka.
Your name again?
Mwape, calling you from within Lusaka.
Oh, Mwape, calling from Lusaka. Yes, Mr. Mwape, make your contribution and kindly speak louder.
All right. I just want to add a voice to what the other colleagues have already alluded. The issue of Mr. Chirufya Tayari, I think that one, it's well planned move. Or those people who went to his house, they are criminals. I'm sure I've been seeing the news that there are a lot of guns in Lusaka. People are being robbed. People are being attacked. So why is it those who have been attacked, some of them have been killed, but no one claims that those they have been killed by army officers? But why is he attacking the army? And the second, I watched your press briefing with your fellow opposition. So I expected you to talk something that can benefit the country. But your briefing was all HH. So even us young who wants to follow you, now I'm confused because you are not giving us what are you going to do. Checks and balances, not about HH. Checks and balances, it's about solution to what the government should do. Give them the solution. And the other thing, you politicians, I also want to blame the government. They have been playing with the youth. since last year, that was October, the recruitment for army and police. No one in the government is talking about it. They are all quiet. And no one in the opposition, they are all quiet. But you are only tackling the other issues that are not even benefiting the youth. So this recruitment, if it was for the people above 60 age, but since it's involving the youth, the president is, for us, is not showing the youth that is really care for the youth. Because if he really cares, he could have intervened. Some of the youth, they are stranded, they are not doing anything, thinking that maybe they may be accepted for going to police or army. So this is really torture for the youth.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mwape. So, as I was saying that there's been an advert in newspapers that was done in October for all defense and security services that they were recruiting, and the young people are anxious. And you know, in the absence of official information, rumors take hold. Because we hear, no, the training has started, they are now in Lai, no, they are in curfew, no, they are where. Why? Because of rumors. It's imperative that governments put this matter to rest. For the event that occurred at Mr. Chilufya Tayari's home, we have seen the evidence. It's very important that the police investigate this matter. And for me, I will leave it there. It's a serious matter. Chilufya's life was at stake, and we need to formally investigate and establish who that was who made the attack. Good evening, and tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Yes, I'm calling from Copper Belt.
Your name, sir, and where on the Copper Belt?
Yeah, Ndola.
Ndola. And your name?
Yeah, Noah Kaite.
Noah?
Kaite, Noah Kaite.
Noah Kaite. Okay, thank you very much. Please make your contributions.
Yeah, I'm
going
to use the Bemba.
Yo, won't chwemba kanabesa.
Yeah.
Chalo chile nyumfwa.
Yeah. Mwamba ngamati mumone Chilufya kwambira ya chiyapa Chilufya Tayari. Chilufya Tayari ngamu serious nama politics tamufele no kusupporta efile randa Chilufya Tayari. Because Chilufya Tayari abagenesi no muntu uli wonse. Taranda pama politics yautiri mbyale kule charo roku kwafwe charo. Aranda pe pamuntu ukula chitata muntu. One day imwe ne mabale bakuntashi akamishita attack Chilufya Tayari one day. Natamumpere techare fwaya akesa myarukira. Efe Chilufya Tayari. Mwamona. No mbanga chatu mwekwa PF ibombe wino. Olo konsego kwa pala kitwe ndola kopa beuti. Mwekwa ibombe wino dozi. Mufuna mwamona ma politics yo muletea. No ma politics ya like yare ya Chilufya Tayari atame anchita ataki shani yabufiadi. Vame kuti waisa ya 7 hours Mwamba kuti waisa 7 hours panga ndapa mienu 7 hours wame waisa mkumishita ataki. Yabufiadi. So tawifule file chitikefyo mchalo. Mwamona ama politics egina abantu tute ama politics yakulanda twist yale tuwale chalo pantaji. No mbanga chaute kuleve efyo. Mairo tumukambo kula sana efuti mweka. Mwamona. Then mukareve pesha ne charo atao banchita ataki. Wero nishimulera sana mweka. Etefisume efyo.
Thank you very much Wakaite. Bushapali na fimbe famule fokulanda.
Andela again pali ya kungisha ya kuchita ya recruitment.
Mkwai. Iba chitiri advertise mjenywa mu October. Yonse ama defense and security right chitiri advertise. Waiva nokwewa tama names yalafuma, but ama names up to now tayafuma. Muleti poshan.
Up to now tayafuma. That's why na government or cabinet yesu yama ministers. Tufule tuwa ministers very serious no kubomba. Because tawafile wale better post information kubekala chalo. Chakula muneka again ikale yakula leto bulwi abantu bali mu houses na because abantu baleka bile nchito sana. Ero nga mwapunya names era names yabo tali abantu bakano tabali selected
Yakuwa.
because it's not fair ishina lyandiri yafuma again ishi tamumpere okonde alimbe mukubomberero nimbe tamumpere limbe tamunchitire selector tawe nombaye wala tamukutreno. So it's not fair like that. So government needs to be very serious for that. And for information over the fair abekala charo because mwikala charo ino nshitakwete nchito mwatu mone advertise over the chitanga abantu advertise chekuyo abantu abengi bareka biro kuingira nchito rero mwasanga timbe bachita 11,000 abachita apply babandeda nchani so bafule babako serious muri isho sintu nabarespera tebare kunya information nabafule serious nabarabe bari kurya bene makane hozi barabe makane hozi bari kunya information abafule baba serious no kugomba nabafule bari information wachita select abantu era abantu agenda bakano kuyakurya na machine yabona yakuma. It's not like that. And not one who can support that. Sure.
Yo.
At least that's the thing you need to talk about and you need to advise. Nama politician, abali mu opposition, ni mwakale mwamba politics. You know chirufya tayari Mwamba. I knew you in Kasama, omo mwabombere. Mwamona ntuli mwasa baba I knew you. So, you know chirufya tayari. Mwalimu shwa chirufya tayari. So, mfintu fimo mukanya ni chirufya tayari tawe fishimwana wa defyo. Mwamona, mukanya ni chirufya tayari fimo fimo. Efa tulefu wa imo mule landa po, ni fifintu file chitika kakula bakunya manemu stadi, abaluta wale ingile nchito. Government ya chita selective ita file wombeka. Randeni ponga ma politicians, so that government fila posa kwa mano. Mwamona. Noti ya mani ya chakwa chirufya tayari ya kuwese charo panchi na mani ya bantu yale tontoganya fimbi. Mwamona economy mcharo tairi wino fuel fuel abantu tulesta. Not because the government ya fumia kwa one kwacha. Yani ya one kwacha is just nothing. But the government opposition ufemule landa po. Because government is that now abantu tulesta fuel 26 kwacha. Mwamona. Right now abantu mulusako kwenda mulusaka is very difficult. Inena alivofya po bus, inena wofya bus. Urea kumo 22 kwacha. Now just calculate if you are paying 50 kwacha every day or 40 kwacha every day. Nish wala spend a shinga because abantu wamana uma weekend. Wala spend a shinga every month.
Okay, wakaitele kani sende kona baba letu mana bambi.
So if you mufuna mule landa kwa bambi so she was papata.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening, Ambassador Matthews from the Saka.
Yes, Matthews. Good evening.
Good evening. I just want to comment. I don't know if I have questions or just more confusions I'm bringing. I don't know.
Please participate. This is a public forum. We have topics, but sometimes there are more emotive issues and they overtake our topics. But please, it's a forum for people to vent.
Okay. I just want to talk about the sale of the VXs.
Yes.
That was proposed, I think, was it on Friday or Saturday?
On Thursday, yes.
Yeah. Because there is no such procurement that is done without the presidential authorization, so to speak. So I don't know where the president was when that bid was done, or when the procurement actually went through cabinet. For him to just now make a U-turn and say we are selling. I myself being a car dealer, and I've worked in a showroom. The value of the car is actually lost immediately you drive it out of the showroom by 20%. Immediately you drive out, 20% is lost. So how many months have passed, or how many days have passed since those VXs were bought, and what are their value devaluation, in short? Are we making a profit when we sell those vehicles? Because the arguments I'm seeing now is that the repair service of those VXs is more costly, so we'll save money. Are we really being sincere to ourselves to start even talking about saving money? Our country is going down, yet more, sorry for the lack of a better term, more uneconomical steps are being taken. Yesterday I was driving from Lusaka to Kitwe. Honorable, if we continue on this trajectory, Africa will always be like this. I met almost 100 presidential vehicles which were in the copper belt.
Over 100?
Over 100. And I think it was in Kapiri, you know where the robots at Kapiri, where they even bashed someone. The legs are gone already as I'm talking to you.
Okay.
So what is this extravagance that we have as Africans, as Zambians? Because the president made it very clear before assuming office to say they will never use VX. But what was it that happened that made him actually sign for those vehicles to be bought? For him to just now make a U-turn to say, no, we have to sell them. How much? Let him tell us how much are we saving by selling those vehicles. Are we making profit or are we making loss?
Okay. Thank you, Matthew. Let me take this call and I'll make my contributions to you. Thank you, Matthew. I'm grateful. Hello. Good evening. Please make your contributions. Your name and the way you are calling us from.
Hello.
Your name and where you are calling us from.
Yes, I'm Mr. Chola.
Yes, Mr. Chola.
I'm speaking from Lusaka.
Yes, Mr. Chola. Make your contributions.
My contribution is that if into munomucharo chesu cha Zambia asiri bwino yo
Emkwai London potumfwe
na zirubane vintu vingi sana. There is some lot of things people are suffering now. Kwambira kumachito kubuikashi mabunga tulemona abantu abengi ubunge fire kitika efyo baletita smuggling ubunga fira fyonse fyambire kuli government ilipo okuchita introduce okuchitisha amataba outside country. Then kira kyali kirangiriro kairina ngwalikana munganda n'abaana lero wemufyashi wamba okufuma uleleta imisango panganda ileibyo abaana nga bamonako bena maction yo bakamba okuchita yakaba wesi. So there is something if you watch the introduce if you are lengero kwebati iyonze smuggling balerira fintu watch the introduce
Emkwai
and then fire ambira kuba limukati ka kironganiro kine kyabo because nabayishiwe bofire kitige fintu lezo fire
Natasha Wachola lekeni sende komunenu lekeni tufe kona komunenu Natasha sana Wachola. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Good evening, please.
Hello.
Good evening. Tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Ni mwewa ni mkwai.
Neo bachipiri.
Bachipiri kumwense mulishani.
Wino mkwai mwalinda shani.
Iyole sare tupala shani na imuko kwa ile pelefyo.
Yo kulise wino mkwai.
Endita.
Jamwani.
Mkwai.
We ilishanya ko fwe bisepera tu ilishanya kweno ko twachira ku apply vya ku defensive tapawe fyo mfika kana mfimo so telefo mukaturandire ko mwewa kwata ko kushiro kuti mungaturandira okucha.
Mkwai.
Pantu tuepende uno myeshi mwenshi wa seve nomba telefo tuishio ndafyali pwa ndafyala bachani.
Mkwai. Mkwai.
Rombo mwani.
I put up an advert from the Zambia Army and from the Defense Forces, October 21. People went, they applied, they came and ran, you ran them through fitness, publicize the results. I know there are many people that applied in thousands, but you only need a small number. Still more publicize whoever you picked. Good evening, and tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Hello?
Yes, good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Yeah, this is Emmanuel. I'm calling you sir, from Bowling.
Emmanuel from Bowlen.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just want to make a contribution over this made by the president.
Yes.
Yeah, so now I have a question, and that question is, who allowed the purchase of these VXs? Because if we remember, the president, when he was sworn in and just came into the office, he issued say, I won't buy any new cars, I won't buy any expensive cars, you see? So now, surprisingly, we saw that ministers have been given new cars which are these mentioned VXs. So now, after these VXs will be sold out, are we making a profit or a loss?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Emmanuel from Bowlen. I think let me attend to this question. This is the same question that Matthew talked about, Matthew from Lusaka. I want to give an example of the Mexican president. He's a new president. He beat his predecessor. He came and scandalized the presidential jet. He said it was very expensive. They bought the jet at $200 million, added peripheries and security gadgets and did an upgrade, another $100 million. And the jet has been sold to Tajikistan for a price of $92 million after the Mexican government spent $300 million on the jet in the recent past, just the last 2-3 years. But because the president said, no, me, I'm a frugal president, I will not allow to use this Dreamliner, is too expensive, carrying 80 people for what? I'm going to sell it. He has sold it at a loss. He has sold it for $92 million after 3 years ago spending $300 million just because you don't like your predecessor. This is what we are seeing in this case for the Land Cruiser. Let me speak briefly just about how you buy government items. First, there is a plan, a procurement plan you do per year. You plan for the purchase. Secondly, after planning, there is what is called the Appropriation Act. This is the one that regulates how to set up a budget. The Appropriation Act and the national budget is approved by Cabinet. Cabinet and the President authorize the purchase of those vehicles. People did out work supply just didn't wake up because the minister wants a vehicle. No, they were approved in the national budget. They were approved by the president. So he can't come around and express ignorance about the purchase of the vehicles. No. And last year, when they brought a supplementary budget, I broke it down. I said, why are people buying brand new vehicles on supplementary budget? Supplementary budget is designed to make you pay what you incurred in the year, emergencies, things you didn't foresee. You have to justify to Parliament why you are spending outside the national budget. In that supplementary budget, there were new vehicles for service chiefs, there were new vehicles for DEC, there were new vehicles, I think, for the SEC, there were brand new vehicles all over. I said, how do you buy state assets like that, capital items, capital equipment, using supplementary? He's supposed to budget for them. So the president authorized a budget and the president authorized the purchase of these vehicles. He can't come around and say sell the motor vehicles. If you see the motor vehicles, if you see the Land Cruisers, they are very, very expensive. Who authorized? It's the president that authorized. And if he sells them now, they'll be sold at a loss. Because, in fact, I don't know if the law even applies for you to sell a brand new asset. Because the public asset management policy requires that the sale of these assets They should have depreciated. You know, their maintenance must be more expensive than, you know, keeping them. They must be obsolete equipment or obsolescence equipment. Those that are going to be obsolete are obsolescence. These are brand new vehicles. What law is the president going to use to sell these vehicles? That is the issue. We have the public stores that also regulates these assets. You just don't wake up. There's an asset register that you have to keep. And there are mechanisms of how to dispose of these assets. A board of survey has to sit and justify the sale. You just can't sell a government asset. You cannot. So the president is being disingenuous. He has expressed ignorance on the matters he approved. Those vehicles were approved by the president and by his cabinet. Good evening, and tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Yes, good evening. You are talking to Singoma Brand from Livingston.
Sorry, Mr. Singoma, you called earlier and there was another call on the other line. Thank you. Please make your contribution. Brand Singoma, Livingston.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe the first thing that I need to mention, I think when you are doing politics, let's be serious with politics. We stick to politics. Not involving the security of the nation. I feel Mr. Tayari, we cannot take him for a person who can tell the truth. Mr. Tayari is the one who caused, if you remember, the death of Sama. He alarmed the nation to say he had evidence concerning HH. And today he has brought that issue, that I cannot buy it. So, a politician like you, Honorable, I didn't expect you that you are going to associate with Tayari at this point. You know, I don't know if you are getting me.
I'm getting you, Mr. Brown. Please speak.
Yes.
Please speak.
So I think let's be brave enough and do clear politics. Otherwise, following people like Tayari, they will be just denting your name. Otherwise, you're a good person, but if you dwell much on people like Mr. Tayari, I think you are going nowhere, Honorable. So let's do politics. We put away important things like the security of the nation. Let's not put the security of the nation at stake, because over a small issue, it can cause havoc in the nation. So let's be careful concerning these issues. And to come to another issue, I feel PF did a lot of evil things on us Zambians. And I'm one of the victims, 2015. I was almost killed by the cadres, PF cadres in Lusaka there, after the convention in Mulungushi, when they came back. So when we look at that, let's not make people to think, okay, over what happened of late. So let's just talk about how we are going to do for this nation. Unlike talking about ill things concerning the current government, I feel we are not helping this nation. Let's bring alternatives to this nation so that we can develop this nation together. So that's the advice that I can give this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Patrick. Brian Singomba, from Livingston. Thank you very much. The issue regarding Mr. Tayari, I think there is sufficient threat that occurred today, and our call is for law enforcement agencies to investigate thoroughly. The allegations are serious. We can't just brush them off because you have an opinion about Mr. Tayari. If there is a life threatened of anyone, I will rise to that defense. For me, that's how I am. I think that if anyone's life, including your life, is at stake, I'll come to your aid. Good evening, and please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
This is Daniel from North Mid.
Yes, Daniel.
Yes. I want to talk about, I'm a PF person, or I'm a PF, or a person who likes PF in short. Let me just say, a person who likes PF, who loves PF. The only thing that I'm really disappointed now is that you people, you were in power, and you lured us very well. I can say you lured us very well. I cannot complain, whatever, whether other people, they don't believe that you never worked, whatever it is. We know that, yes, there are some other things that were done wrong during the time of PF. So this time around now, I expected that since the PF is out of power, it means it's going to have the different life from the life they were before or during the time when they were ruling. Now, what I've seen is that instead of now, since people, they voted out PF with different reasons, others say it was violence, others say people now there's scandalism whatsoever. So my expectation was that this time around, you are going to give the people the new right to say, okay, I think we are done with that kind of politics, so that people, they believe in you again. But what I'm seeing, you are also like, when this current government says something towards you, you also respond according to the way they have said it or the way they have started to you. So instead of you having an alternative way to make people understand that yes, you are done with such kind of politics. Example, I can talk about the recent remarks which was done by HH, where he was saying that, something like that. Those terms, if you continue also like talking about those terms, how he's expressing himself, let the people on the ground themselves to see that what he's doing is not good. The moment you are also going to start talking about it, even people will say, these people are still fighting, like the way they were fighting even when the UPND was in opposition. So this time
thank you very much. Thank you, Daniel. Let's take another call. Thank
you very much.
Good evening, and tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
I'm calling you from Mansa.
Yes, sir.
My name is Mwansaga.
Your name is? Mwansanga.
Let's go with that.
Mwansa from Mansa.
Yes.
Okay.
My comment is this. I'm a politician of Maryland. That's the fear of position of Maryland. Yeah, the fear of wherever opposition Murandira Monava UPND is very more position. The Muranda what Murechta encourage our data. Muranda what bari abareteka mureba burisha amano uremwe mumwe bakwita amano so naveno instead of send advice yo mureba pera bayisa mkuranda njibera ababareti burisha afya amano so that what he said at the end of the day tapa be fichitika but ngamwa bakwati mwabasenda ndeba imo bantu murima politics na ba UPND nganti bamfwakuru once baba in opposition nganti bamfwako tibayisenda point yati ababantu abareteka kubasenda muri buno bantu bakwita amaka oro muri bapanda kwa mano ni shumito myenu muri ati muri bapanda amano muri buino nomba ngoma bakati muri anda bakati muri baburisha amano nista bakarasenda ba point yeti nishi at the end of the day bakashtisha ubunga bwose bantu mu mwaranda tibeshitisha bageza shitishe cyaro bantu mu mwaranda tibeshitisha bageza shite myoto ka bantu mu mwaranda tibeshitisha nishi tukaya kwisi.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Yama. Well, Natasha sana pafyo mwalanda, na mano mwatupanda kom. Tola ishu ya kusta. This is the purpose of the show, is to learn from you, but also to offer proper checks and balances. On the sale of the motor vehicle, sale of the jet, the reasons are that Zambia will lose. That's why I gave an example, not from our presidential jet, but from a jet from Mexico, which was bought at $200 million. The new president didn't like the previous president, and he says it was wasteful expenditure. There was, the matter was even upgraded. The plane was upgraded by another $100 million. It came to $300 million. Yet, within 3 years, you sell it for $92 million. Imagine the loss of almost $208 million. That's the Mexican government. Over these VXs, they are not obsolete. They remain new. Why are you selling them? Yet you approved the sale. On the presidential delivery units, I think as we begin to go to the other hour, I introduce the last subject so that you can call and make contribution to whichever topic. Let's go to the Presidential Delivery Unit. Presidential Delivery Unit. This is an idea from Tony Blair. He created what is called the Prime Minister's Delivery Unit. And Tony Blair is at State House. Brentes Foundation is at State House. These are alien ideas from, let me take this call. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening, Mr. Tembo. I'm calling from Mufulira.
Mr. Tembo, from Mufulira. Good to hear from you. I was saying, Mshele Lovala Tuma.
Oh.
Tuachimifuluka.
Oh, thank you.
Make your contribution, my brother.
I've been following the program, but you see, what you said about the procurement procedures, government procedures, that is 100% correct.
Mm-hmm.
So you were so because it's going to make mistakes more.
Mm-hmm.
Then my main concern is on the presidential delivery unit.
Yeah.
Number delivery unit what hurts me most as a citizen is that in this presidential unit there are foreigners involved.
Mm-hmm.
Even mtaona tukwata abantu abengi abakweta Emmanuel ofyo cyaro chifiri chaenda nishinga yahurira abantu kufumoko bese batulange ofya guti.
Mm-hmm.
That one on its own is a mistake. The for presidential unit Palwandi, our financial British Foundation, I can't pronounce the name properly, and the other Tony Blair issues, those should not be part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us like fueka. That is the one issue that is the matter. The told video talk number one to next tambako number to the official mwenso. As a president is not supposed to speak like that with emotions, with hatred. No wonder why when you go on social media you find that the comments that come from UPND members they are threatening.
Yeah.
They are divisive. If they missed him a gun or whatever happens, he's supposed to put that one under hold and say, okay, when it can do, what it are open times. So the more he speaks like that, the more he puts a spirit of vengeance in his followers.
Yeah.
Okay? And the more he fails to deliver. And the more others fail to come out and offer a contribution to say the idea to say let's take Zambia this way, let's take it this way because of what he has planted already. I'm not Bemba, but I like it.
I'm quiet.
They say
kala kusho muchene kai brapka if pariari koza parape no reshetela chila bushku umuchene ole ya ole kula.
So that is the thing. And then the other thing is that mulingo atimisani mulingo olingira ukaba nove nayo wakachita shani
emkwai you'll be measured by the same measure you measure others.
Absolutely, yeah. So we who kills by the sword will perish by the sword. See? So wale ipangira fi problem hii. No wonder nifinta fi endera wino mchalo. Ubukali wali pitirira.
Emkwai.
So kulandira policy more.
No, but Tembo, let's take another call. I'm so grateful. You still can call later because I'm going to exhaust my thoughts on the presidential delivery unit. You still can call.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
I'm calling from Lusaka.
Your name, sir?
Yes, I'm Chola.
Okay, Mr. Chola from Lusaka.
Today I contribute pa mlandone fide for kushika majeti na yotoka.
Emkwa yokti balanda.
Iya program ya jeti is not necessary ukushtisha jeti ya presidential.
Oh, we lost. So the law provides for government to dispose of assets. The assets must be unserviceable. Their service must be costing more money than than keeping the asset. The asset must be obsolescent, meaning it's going out of date, or it's going out of, to be obsolete soon, or is obsolete, that is obsolete, you can't even service it. That is how government provides for the sale of these assets. But the president wants to sell the jet. Ama ministers wali washitira land cruisers, maybe that mushtishe. The secretary to cabinet is going to have difficulties because of the laws. There's even Article 210 of the Constitution of Zambia, Article 210, Subarticle 2, clearly even prohibits the sale of especially the major assets like the jet or a state-owned enterprises or a company without getting 2/3 majority from Parliament. And for these other assets like the land cruisers, they were recently approved, some as late as last year, by the president. Statutory budget goes to the president, the supplementary budget. The actual budget goes to the president. Procurement processes and procedures, the procurement plan is approved by ZPPA. If a ministry plan that is going to buy these numbers of vehicles for ministers and permanent secretaries and approved, you have to buy. The account party approval, the president shouldn't and his cabinet shouldn't have approved the purchase of these motor vehicles. Then we would believe him. Because who do they want to sell it to? To themselves? And you also have to remember that some of these things are conditions of service. Will you vary the condition of service? Are we going to vary what is provided for how to take care of the president because he thinks otherwise? No. We can't compromise on his security. We can't compromise on his travel. We can't compromise what he eats. We can't compromise any of the things. We have to follow what the law has provided for to protect the president. Similar conditions of service. If a permanent secretary requires a certain vehicle, you have to. You saw that local government has bought 156 land cruisers, 156 land cruisers. They were budgeted for. They said these were going to be supervisory vehicles for implementation of CDF, and they've been bought 156 land cruisers. Are you going to sell them? So we think that we should not rule by emotion. On the presidential delivery unit, it's Tony Blair's issue. It started 15 years ago, when he was prime minister. He set up what he called Prime Minister's Delivery Unit. He wanted to especially look at how government can deliver. He thought that the public service was very slow. He wanted coordination done by the Prime Minister's Delivery Unit to monitor and to evaluate the programs of government and projects and then resolve the bottlenecks. He proceeded to implement this when he left office in Liberia, in Kenya, Rwanda, and now Zambia. But the Prime Minister's Delivery Unit was abolished in Kenya because people thought that it wasn't effective. It was interfering with the civil service. There's an established civil service for 500 years in UK. And the Presidential Delivery Unit was interfering with the traditions, regulations, laws of implementing government. Some things are made that will understand the bureaucracy. Make it efficient. Employ qualified staff. Understand the machinery. You can't jump into a vehicle which you don't understand. You think you're on a motorbike when you are in a V8. No. So the bureaucracy needs to be understood. The Presidential Delivery Unit is a cabinet, is ministers, and the secretary to cabinet and the PS. That's the secretariat. That's the Presidential Delivery Unit. This issue of creating parallel structures just brings differences. And if you saw the kids, sorry, I'm calling them kids because that's what they are. In UK, is chief of staff. In Liberia, chief of staff. The chief of staff at presidency, who is in charge of the Presidential Delivery Unit. Similar in Kenya, the secretary to cabinet. Then mwabura fyabana imisepera bena chipokota Manawasa, you know, she's literally an intern at State House. You put her as PDU, and you put a young lady, the PS at Management and Development Initiative. How will they bully around ministers? How will they don't even have clout? And those are the weaknesses of the presidential delivery unit. It actually brings inefficiency. While you think that it will bring coordination, while you think that it will promote monitoring and evaluation, while you think that it will resolve the bottlenecks, it actually then, the political and bureaucratic sensitivities creep in and nothing is done. So I think now I have discussed all our topics. Many people wanted us to discuss Mr. Chilufya Tayali. I think we've exhausted that. The attacks by the president on his predecessor, I think those remarks are inflammatory, they are inciting, they are abusive. Disposal of state assets, you require first to understand all the laws regulating disposal of state assets. State assets are highly protected and insulated. And you don't dispose of brand new assets like a jet or new land cruisers, because the law talks about mostly disposing of obsolete equipment and serviceable equipment. It doesn't talk about brand new vehicles. And all the brand new vehicles have an approval process because of the money involved. The money involved is too much. So you put it in the procurement plan, you put it in the national budget. National budget is approved by permanent secretaries. It goes for final approval to cabinet, which goes for Parliament approval and ratification. And you know, under the Appropriation Act, it becomes law. And then you buy the vehicles. So you can't express ignorance that where are these vehicles from. Call us on 0973-045292. Moses, you can come back and make your contributions. And Matthew from Lusaka, I think we've exhausted the issues. You can call back and exhaust your thoughts on this. Call us on 0974-808-115. And the Appropriation Act is very clear. How do you raise money? How do you raise resources? It's through national budget, through taxation, you know, through financing. You can do development through a PPP, financing through PP, or you raise money from cooperative partners, or you go to the markets and borrow either concessional loans from IMF and World Bank or from other sovereign states. We talked about the Mexican government that has sold the presidential jet to Tajikistan, where they spent $300 million on this 787 Dreamliner and sold it for $92 million, all because of egos. So we just need to ensure that the approval is not done and where the approval has been done. And for the presidential jet, the presidential helicopter was bought, the one in copper was bought by President Chiluba. The one who came to ride in it was President Mwanawasa. So if the president doesn't like this jet for reasons known to himself, he can leave it. Another president will come and use it. I'm aware that President Rupia Banda bought the presidential helicopter, the red one, smaller in nature. The one who came to use it was mostly President Michael Sata. You know, and there's a new helicopter the president has been using. Ministry of Defense claims that it hasn't been bought, but we know the 9J10 has been bought. So if you want to save money, if you truly want to save money, there are things you need to do to save money. There are things you will need to do. Now, this gentleman has sent a voice note. What do we do? Sorry, there's a voice note I'm trying to retrieve. I've seen it has come. Okay, we'll leave it. It's not opening. Internet is slow. It's not opening, so we'll leave it. Please call us on 0973-045292. Call us on 0973-045292. So that we begin to close. I think we've made good progress. I'm trying to look for my notes on how to really save than to sell those land cruisers. there are many things that the president has to do, including stopping corruption. Corruption is on the rise, so the president has to stop that corruption. Okay, so is there anything I've left out? Yes, the management, transfer, maintenance, and reallocation of state assets, including their disposal, is done by Ministry of Works and Supply. And Ministry of Works and Supply is regulated by over 13 acts of parliament that regulate state assets, including the public asset management policy. We have a new policy that was crafted in 2021. We have the public stores regulation, which follows on accounting of assets, and also is run together with the Public Finance Management Act number 1 of 2018. So the president just can't wake up and say, sell the land cruisers, sell the land cruisers. Politically, it sounds very good because it looks like he's worried about huge expenditures. But the law says, is the equipment obsolete? Is it unserviceable? Are you selling it because it's expensive to maintain? Not because it was bought expensively, because like I said, some of those things are conditions of service. Well, if there are no calls, for me, I'm done. We will be going out at 21:30. We can go out 30 minutes earlier, and we'll be regulated that way. You can call us on 0973-045292 on the various topics that we had today. You can call us on 0974-808-115. Let's play the video by the video, where the president is attacking the former president. We think that is totally inappropriate, and we think that the president must desist from these inflammatory attacks against his predecessor.
A tidbit of what this copper belt was. The journey we walked, the tear gas, so many things. One time after, nakabiri aletupuma 22-year-old girl Mapens Chibulo. We had a police permit and a bullet was put at the back of her head. That bullet was meant for me. So when muntu alela that ndebwererapo, what does he think I am? What does he think you are? What does he think the children of Joseph Kaunda, Lawrence Banda, Mapens Chibulo, Gracia Matapa, what does he think about those women who were thrown in a cell together with me? Nishi must not misunderstand each other in this country. We must not misunderstand each other in this country. We must not abuse each other in this country. Ndekutika. All the time I'm listening, I said, these people. We say, bale tontonkanya tatwa kwa tamano. Zambia. Ndeipusha.
Very much. So you can see how inflammatory those remarks are. They are literally inciting his members, his followers against the former president. We think that the president must desist from inciting people, abusing his predecessor. His predecessor has been very clear. He's not going for it. If he wishes to participate in the elections in 2026, he's allowed. The president is not a constitution. So I think he should let the process run. The President Lungu has said is allowing us to elect a leader, allowing us to ensure that a leader who will be elected is the one that is going to be given power. So these attacks against the former president, as we've seen, are totally unnecessary. They are very incessant. President Edgar Lungu is our last president, surviving president. We lost President Rupia Banda. We lost President KK. And it's important that we elevate the former president, President Lungu, to a place of a statesman. He's our only surviving president. And these attacks for me don't border well. And don't be preoccupied with your predecessor. Just deliver. Deliver on the economy. Deliver on the jobs. Deliver on your promises. And Zambians will vote for you if you do that. But if you are attacking all of us, Zambians will wonder, why are you not doing your job? So I think we are pioneering something else. Today we had a good discussion, and I think we can begin to wind up. We discussed the purchase of motor vehicles. We discussed the presidential delivery unit. We have demonstrated the law that speaks to that. We also spoke about the politics, the attack against Mr. Tayali. Whatever your feelings and misgivings, Tayali has a point. The defense forces advertised to employ our young people. Our young people are increasingly impatient. It's important that our young people are told whether they will get those jobs or not, so they can pursue other matters. So with those few words, let me close with the blessings to you. Numbers 6 verse 24 to 26. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace. See you on Wednesday. Remember, the brief comes on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We didn't have it last Friday because it was a holiday, and I thought people were busy with family, were busy with traveling, were busy with the holiday, and we didn't come back to you. So God bless you. See you on Wednesday.
Emmanuel, Mwamba Emmanuel.